Twitter mentions and Ivanka potentially becoming Trump's new wife or whatever. She really didn't care, did she?
No, she didn't. And this entire story is ridiculous. And yeah, she wore it on a stupid PR trip to try and ameliorate like the impact of awful, child parent separation at the border, as if that was gonna do anything to send her there. Who cares about the jacket? It was callous, but the story of Ivanka v. Melania completely makes sense. Like that is the most believable story I think I've heard in a long time. We know the sort of gross incestuous stuff between Trump and his daughter. And yeah, of course, Melania didn't want to do this. Thing that I can't get over, and John, I feel like sometimes things move so fast, we don't stop and are like, hey, look at this obvious hypocrisy that we just sort of let go, which is that for years now, the right has been obsessed with all of the access that Hunter Biden supposedly got vis-a-vis his father being the vice president, right? And like the $5 million that, wasn't really $5 million, and okay, our informant's not really real. None of it actually bore out. The amount of access that Trump's kids got to everything, not just trademarks in China, not just deals with Saudi Arabia as in Jared Kushner, but the actual levers of power. If Hunter Biden were in the Oval Office right now, imagine the freak out that the right would have. That's exactly what they were doing. Melania's right. His kids had way too much power. And they weren't even supposed to get security clearances, and they got them. Remember that?
100%. Yeah, you're totally right in the hypocrisy. And I don't know, maybe they've made up Ivanka and Melania. I will just say, we often say it with all the weird stuff Trump has said about Ivanka over the course of her life. Like, if you're Ivanka, what does that make you think? And it makes sense we would focus on that because she's the one who is being, that's a form of abuse from your father. I'm just gonna say it. But we don't often say, if you're Melania, what do you think about that? The weird stuff about her legs and her breasts and about how they'd be dating if she wasn't his daughter. Like, if you're his wife, what the hell do you make of that? Anyway, I'll leave that to them to deal with over an incredibly awkward Thanksgiving. Okay, with that said, we need to move to our last story. We're gonna try to cover as much of this as we can in the time that we have. When was the last time you heard about a group of Girl Scouts being sued for fundraising? Well, America's wild in 2024, and so that's exactly what's happening right now, and we're gonna break it down for you. There's this Girl Scouts troop, it's in St. Louis, and they have been threatened with a lawsuit over a fundraiser that they did to raise money for kids who are suffering. So far, so no story. But for you to understand it, you need to know that the kids they were raising money for are suffering in Gaza. And immediately I can get why some terrible people would not like that they're doing that. So you have Nawal Abu Hamde, troop leader, mother of a 10-year-old member of the Girl Scouts that had their troop. Apparently their troop was, rightfully horrified by what's been happening in Gaza and all the people who've died and are suffering, many of them kids, just like these Girl Scouts. And so instead of selling Girl Scout cookies, they decided to do a community service project. And the kids came up with an idea to sell homemade bracelets to benefit the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. And the troop leader says, I'm grieving, we're all grieving. We literally couldn't muster the energy to sell cookies. So this starts to spread in social media. And at that point, the Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri contacted the troop to say that the troop was required to stay neutral and could not engage in partisan politics, which this is not. They're not supporting a candidate or a party. It's literally charity for children who are dying. But okay, so they forced her to remove mentions of the Girl Scouts from the fundraiser. So then Abu Hamde says she pointed out that similar fundraisers have been allowed for the victims of other wars, including in Ukraine, and said, why is this being treated differently? We condemn any innocent lives taken, whatever religion they are, whatever ethnicity they are. And at that point, the Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri are like, oh yeah, no, interesting point about the Ukraine. It's not the partisan politics thing, it's that you didn't follow protocol. Yeah. We had paperwork you were supposed to do and you didn't do that. So now we're gonna sue you over that other thing. And I just wanna be very clear. The National Girl Scouts are apparently not directly affiliated. It's a separate thing. They're saying we've allowed this. And in fact, there have been fundraising efforts for kids in Gaza. So don't get mad about the National Girl Scouts. But this particular section, they don't like the issue that's being fundraised for. That seems fairly clear to me, Francesca. What do you think?
I think this is the most Girl Scouts the Girl Scouts have ever been. They're supposed to, help foster leadership and empowerment and, risk taking. And yeah, I think good on these kids, good on these Girl Scouts. I'm getting all sad because I think this is all of us doing what we can in our own communities and our own activities to try and bring it back to what's happening in Gaza, right? I mean, we also saw, the self-immolation of Aaron Bushnell, who was an Air Force serviceman, 25 years old. He didn't have to die, and this was his way of protesting this war. Well, this is a different way, a much more constructive way, a way that, is trying to really get aid and food to the kids of Gaza, who, by the way, we know there are thousands of trucks on the border of Egypt and Gaza that cannot get through, that I don't think it's been since the end of January that the people of Gaza, still under assault, have gotten food. So yeah, it doesn't feel right to sell cookies. It feels right to sell bracelets to raise money to help the kids who are starving or dying. So good on them. Good on these kids for pushing back. And Abu Hamdi, I love you, and I'm so glad that you're showing the Girl Scouts that they're being pretty hypocritical.
100%. Well, everyone, that is unfortunately all the time we have for the show, but we are gonna go record our top 10 list for the week. We've been asked during the members hangout that happened last Thursday, someone asked me of all people for advice on what are the factors that help lead to a long-lasting, successful relationship. And I thankfully am in a very happy marriage. My wife is awesome, so I have some expertise, I guess.
Perfect sex life.
Perfect. That's numbers 1 through 10. Don Jr.'s like, I don't believe it. But anyway, we're gonna be doing that top 10 list. It's gonna go out to our all of our members, our tier 2 and tier 3 members later on today. Francesca, thank you.
Thank you.
Where can people see you?
Yeah, see me on the Bitchuation Room, youtube.com/FrannyFio. Tuesdays and Fridays, I stream 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a great show tomorrow. Lance from The Surfs is gonna be there, and we're also gonna talk about abortion rights. And then Sacramento Punchline, March 17th, Sunday, 7 p.m. I'll be with Matt Lieb. We're co-headlining. It's stand-up, it's comedy. We're gonna probably talk about Gaza in a non-sad way, which is hard. But yeah, come out, it'll be so fun.
It'll be fun. By the way, someone asked if we had covered the self-immolation. So I talked about it on today's pre-port, which is up on the channel. You can go see all my thoughts about that right there. But Francesca, thank you. Everyone go check Francesca out. We're gonna record our top 10 list. For now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard, good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than Jackson White, co-founder, editor-in-chief of Politiscope, TYT, Rebel HQ creator, all-star, and host of Politics and Paper. Always fascinating to have his analysis. Top story of the day. Yep, they're back to the blueprint. Donald Trump said something very racist. And instead of holding leaders accountable, they dust off a black conservative to go on national news to talk about how not racist the comment was. Now, I want to take you back to the original statement Donald Trump made and the now proclamation of black conservatives. Here it is.
I got indicted a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against.
Okay, now on Meet the Press, all right? Black conservative goes to Meet the Press, Byron Donalds, to defend Trump's statement. Here it is.
It sounds like Donald Trump was implying that he can win black voters because they get indicted all the time too. Is that what he was saying?
Well, I think it's in part of that. It's part of it, Kristen. Look, it was a great night Friday night in Columbia, South Carolina. The president was really just enjoying himself. It was a great celebration for black conservatives across our country. But let's be very clear. Our economy is a mess. Our border is completely unsecured. These things are causes of major concerns for black voters, like it is for every voter in our country. But then when you layer on the fact that, yes, this is political persecution from the Department of Justice and from radical DAs throughout our country, this is something similar that black people had to deal with the justice system themselves. And so their look of it is real simple. Well, dang, if the government's going after him with foolishness, he can't be that bad, especially considering the fact that Joe Biden is terrible at his job.
Congressman, let's just be clear. All 4 indictments against former President Trump were brought by grand juries. There is no evidence that the indictments are political.
Let's put up the picture full mass. We are inviting this brother on the program, and indisputable. Hopefully he does respond to the invite. Congressman Byron Donalds, Republican out of Florida, defended former President Donald Trump's remarks about being indicted and how black voters can now relate to him. Kristen Welker, NBC's Meet the Press, she did a great job. I was with her a few months ago at an event for the Multicultural Media Association. Wonderful person. I thought she did a great job pushing back at the narrative. But let me say this, and keep that picture up. Do you not find it ironic? Duck, dodge, deny, and deflect, which is a protocol of established politicians. But do you not find it ironic that the black congressman who happens to be a conservative, Byron Donalds, he doesn't get called to talk about things that are generally policy related. The GOP doesn't want him out front. They only dust him off, polish him up, and give him talking points when he is an apologist for racist inside of the party, number one. Number two, the irony of saying that Donald Trump somehow gets the connection between mass incarceration, overcharging, out of control DAs and black people, or the plight of blackness in America, while at the same time denying that systemic racism even exists in the United States of America. But when it is for the goal of landing a political point, not only will Donald Trump exploit the moment, but all of his race-denying fans will do the same. They gave him a round of applause, as if they believe that black people do not get a fair shake in this country, because that's contrary to their policy and their rhetoric. Okay, let's get into it. So, quote, and then I got indicted a second time, and then a third time, and a fourth time, Trump said. And a lot of people said, that's why the black people like me. Yeah, I'm a criminal. See, I'm one of them, was his point. Crowd goes wild. Yeah, black people like Trump. That's all we care about. Because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. Look at that. That's a direct quote from Donald Trump. Because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. Wait a minute. Nikki Haley says America has never been a racist country. The guy that's probably going to be your House Negro, running mate, Tim Scott, that senator said, no. We can't focus on racism. America's not a racist country. But Trump said discriminated against black people. There's more. It's been pretty amazing. Congressman, it sounds like Donald Trump, she says, was implying that he can win black voters because they get indicted all the time too. Welker said, is that what he was saying? Question. The congressman acknowledges that's part of it. Where in the policy is a part of it? We understand it was part of the speech for the moment, but where is it in the policy? Because according to the narrative, they do not believe discrimination against black people actually exists. Obviously, discrimination against Donald Trump exists, according to them, but not against black people. So let's put them up full mass. This brother, to me, contextualized it perfectly because Cedric Richmond, former congressman, by the way, he's now the campaign co-chair for Biden. He has something to say. He said, quote, Donald Trump claiming that black Americans will support him because of his criminal charges is insulting. Richmond said, it's moronic and it's just plain racist. Donald's responded by taking a shot at the former congressman. Quote, Cedric is trying to play politics and use racial politics, he said. And then Welker posed a question to the congressman. Were you offended at all by his comments, Congressman? Let's put up the congressman again. Put up Donald's again. He responds to Kristen Welker and says, no, I wasn't, because I understood what the president was talking about. That's what you call step and fetch. This individual has decided to occupy a leadership position, trick individuals who voted for him in his local district that he is somehow a person with a backbone. And he gets on national news and embarrasses his mama and his entire family. All right, dear brother, when I saw this, I said, you gotta be kidding me. All of the hypocrisy from everybody involved being front and center, and nobody's talking about the reality. They are adverse to the policy of discrimination. What say you?
Well, I mean, Byron Donalds knows exactly what he's doing. And this is some of the reality of being a politician, you know, which way you're going to go and who you're going to align with. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a goofy equivocation to pretend like Donald Trump is in any type of a similar position that, you know, poor black people have been in within the criminal justice system, maybe because they got caught up in gang life or they got, who knows, you know, selling drugs, whatever it is. Could be anything, could be a number of things. It could be the foster care system, all types of stuff. Like Donald Trump is a spoon-fed, spoiled moron, really. One of the funniest things, real quick, about Donald Trump's base is like how well aware they are that Donald Trump is just a big goofball, because they always try to say, well, you know, look at the things that Joe Biden says. And then you can acknowledge that. You can say, yeah, Joe Biden makes mistakes in X, Y, and Z, and he's falling short here. And yeah, he's a bit of a goofy guy. But that doesn't make people like subservient to Biden. Like, it's not like we want Joe Biden to be our king, our God king. Like, it's just not the same. But yeah, I mean, Byron knows that there's no real equivocation with Donald Trump. And in black people and anything along those lines. He's just doing what he's there to do. He's a member of the Republican Party.
There you go. All right. Hopefully leadership will arise at some point. Okay. There's a federal investigation because 2 homes in Mississippi have exploded. Mysterious circumstances. Federal agency is investigating. Put up the picture full mass. 1 fatality already. It's so sad. Federal agency released a preliminary report on its investigation into 2 back-to-back home explosions that happened within days of each other in Jackson, Mississippi. We raised a lot of money for Jackson, Mississippi right here, and also a lot of awareness to the plight of their drinking water and some other things happening. This explosion, or these explosions, resulted in the death of an 82-year-old woman, according to the Mississippi Free Press. The first home on Bristol Boulevard exploded January 24th, killing Miss Clara Barber. You see her there. Another person inside the home was able to escape. 3 days later, a home less than 1 mile away on Shalimar Drive exploded. That home was actually vacant. No one was hurt. Both homes were destroyed completely. The National Transportation Safety Board investigated both explosions to determine if they were connected in any way and if gas leaks or substandard infrastructure were to blame. The agency released its prelim report weeks after the explosions, stating that Atmos Energy Corporation, the company that provides natural gas to the houses, identified, quote, non-hazardous leaks in their distribution system near the homes before they exploded. But the company did not repair them at the time of their discovery. NTSB later discovered that the operating pressure of the pipeline running under the neighborhood was about 336 pounds per square inch PSIG, your pressure, which is below its maximum operational level. Quote, both before and after NTSB investigators arrived, Atmos conducted post-accident leak inspections at both locations and found leaks on mechanical couplings near the previously identified leaks. The NTSB report stated, quote, Atmos detected subsurface gas at the leaks nearest locations 1 and 2, the homes where the explosions occurred, and near the foundations of the adjacent homes. Residents who live near Ms. Barber's home were forced to evacuate the days after the 82-year-old's home exploded. Crews dug up the yards of multiple homes on Bristol Boulevard. One resident told WAPT News that Atmos informed her they had to replace the gas lines. Why? Why did they have to replace the gas lines? Atmos also checked for leaks in nearby neighborhoods. The Mississippi Free Press reported that a Central District Mississippi Public Service Commission official and multiple Jackson City Council members met with community members in several meetings in the weeks after the explosions, where residents questioned Atmos Energy representatives about the safety of the gas pipelines running under their homes. Quote, we're going to look at everybody that digs in the ground, Commissioner D. Kether Stamps said at one of the community meetings. Quote, we're not letting Atmos off the hook at all. There's other folks running cable lines and broadband and water and sewer. We're going to look at everybody. NTSB will release a second report that is supposed to paint a better picture of what caused the explosions and reveal whether any safety measures were overlooked. It could take anywhere between 12 and 24 months to complete. While the NTSB is typically known for investigating civilian aircraft and train accidents, incidents involving natural gas pipelines are also under the agency's purview. But let me say this, it is rare that they exercise jurisdictional authority in a matter like this. And I'm going to say on record, I truly believe the reason they did is because they had other information. Maybe a tipster, maybe a whistleblower from said company. Because for them to get involved and for them to investigate this swiftly and come up with a conclusive investigative report this quickly is, well, let's just say unheard of. Now, there's this other element of, well, why would a gas company be able to basically launch their own investigation and still tamper with the pipelines while the investigation is going on of a federal agency investigating them? It's convoluted, obviously. So what do we have in Jackson, Mississippi? You have a tainted water supply. Now you have exploding gas pipes. Jackson is per capita the blackest major city in the United States of America. More black people live in Jackson than any other major city in the entire country. All right. That's thoughts here.
So I think, when you really zoom out, this is a good example of the impacts of culture and how much, the idea that major corporations don't really need as much oversight and that a lot of political resources have been put into shifting capital out of the middle class. And so you've looked at the commoditization of pretty much every privatization, rather, or the attempt of privatization of pretty much every area of society. The stock market being so much of the emphasis on what the economy is, even though we know there's a lot more variables and aspects to it in terms of how much debt people have and how much just general economic access and opportunity people may have. But as you pointed out, not only is Jackson the blackest city in the country, but also Mississippi, if I recall correctly, is the poorest state in the union.
That's correct.
It's the poorest state in the union. So we see example after example, whether it be this, tainted water supplies all over the country, failing infrastructure, wildfires not being able to be properly contained, levees breaking. We just see that our infrastructure is more expensive to fix now than it would have been if we just stayed on top of it over the decades.
Yep.
So this really is what government should be doing, and this is what government does best. It's making sure that people's general needs are met in terms of their safety, being able to trust their water, being able to trust that, the pipes aren't going to explode, things like that. So unfortunately, despite the fact that the United States is as wealthy as it is, we have these kinds of issues just because of negligence and corruption.
Yep, and political agendas, obviously, adverse to taking care of people. We're going to follow this story naturally. We'll bring you updates as they come. Black teacher accused of stealing at a beauty store speaks out. Here it is.
But I wanted to make this video because I was just discriminated against in Ulta. Now, if you know me, I have never even thought about stealing. The thought of stealing, the thought of putting anything out in the world that's not peace, kindness, and love, I take no part in it. I walked into this Ulta that I always go into. It's my neighborhood Ulta in Altamont Springs, Florida. I'm a teacher. I do my makeup every day. I go in there, I talk to people all the time. When I walked in that store, the first young lady I saw, I gave her a compliment on how beautiful her skin is. When I go into the world, I give love, I give kindness. I am a light in all the dark places I walk in. That's why I had to stop and pray over this young lady, because I think she thought my response would be hostile, but I have no hostility in me because I have total peace. But I pray that the CEO sees this video and understand that Altamont Springs, Florida, Miss Denise Olsman, or whatever her name is, that you no longer have her on your team. The way I was discriminated against is disgusting. And if you pull the cameras, you can see I was a regular customer in the store doing regular customer things.
Wow. Let's put up the picture full mass. I guarantee you the company is aware or will be aware even more. On January 27th, TikTok user and teacher Elle Chardonnay says she was harassed and discriminated against by an Ulta Beauty employee in Florida, where she says she actually is a frequent patron. Miss Elle explains that she was on a walk, no makeup, hair up in a wrap, gym clothes, no wallet, but she was going to use her digital wallet on her phone. That is now normative. So she decided to stop by her local Ulta for a few things with her best friend. While in the store, Elle was looking at multiple products when she was approached by an employee who asked her if she needed a basket or assistance. Elle said she took the basket and placed a lip liner, body scrub, and eyelashes inside of it. Then she searched for her friend inside the store so they could check out. The employee asked Elle if she needed help again, but she declined help. She did not need help anymore. While Elle and a friend were in the perfume section, the employee followed them. She told the woman to use the tester and not open the boxes as they headed to the checkout line. The employee asked a friend again if she needed a basket. Quote, so now my best friend is annoyed and she's like, no, I don't need a basket. I only have one item. Can you stop asking me if I need a basket? I only have one item. The woman recalled a friend saying to the employee. The employee explained that she was missing items from the shelf and asked them if they have seen them. Okay. You all, if something like that happened to me, you all want me to just go full Glenwood now. Have I seen your items that are missing on a shelf? Okay, there's more. The products the employee described were in Elle's basket because she was buying them. Elle said her friend started to film the interaction because they felt like they were being harassed and were shocked by the employee's behavior. The employee, named Denise, who said she was the experience manager, told someone to call the police because she felt attacked. Elle and her friend remained outside of the store until an officer arrived at the scene. Elle claimed she told the cop her side of the story before he went into the store. But after he spoke to the manager, he told Elle and her friend that they had been trespassing since they had gotten into a confrontation with the employee. Elle said he took a picture of her and ordered her to go to another location. This is how she felt.
I was so hurt. My heart was hurt. I've never stolen anything in my life. The thought of stealing never comes up in my mind. I go in that store all the time. I'm a middle school teacher. I always go in there with my makeup done. I'm fully in my professional attire. I have great interactions in this store. This was the first day I went up in there and I had my hair wrapped up because I went for a walk. I did not have on makeup. I just had on my regular gym clothes. I had no personal bag. And I was harassed in this manner. And I'm so heartbroken that the police came out and he still treated me as if I was trespassing. And he said because there was an altercation. There was no altercation. I never used profanity. I never raised my voice. I prayed of the young woman and I stayed there until the police got there. And I still was trespassed, which I was never going to go back there anyway. I would never go back to another Ulta at all. But the fact that that was the solution for a problem of discrimination is crazy.
I concur. Elle's video went viral. It got over 2 million views on the platform. In a follow-up video, she said Ulta's headquarters reached out to her to rectify the situation after reviewing her case. Obviously, they found that she was correct. She was not in violation of anything. Quote, they offered her a personal experience at one of their locations and a $200 gift card. End quote. It's unclear if the employee was terminated, but in the statement to Atlanta Black Star, an Ulta spokesperson confirmed that they had looked into the incident. Quote, we always work to create welcoming and inclusive guest experiences, and we're truly disheartened to learn we fell short of this guest expectations. The statement said, immediately after reviewing the incident, we implemented the highest levels of corrective action and reinforced our commitments and practices with our store team. Okay, interesting and ironic. If Black people or Black women in particular, if they don't shop at Ulta goes bankrupt today. You understand that? To treat your primary consumer base in this manner is antithetical to common sense. Naturally, there's a response, in my opinion, that is wholly inappropriate. $200 gift card. We have done the corrective action we could do, and we failed her expectations. No, you failed your damn self, and you also failed those who are free-thinking individuals in this country and beyond. Jackson, to go to a store, you frequent, right? You go there, you are one of the reasons that local store is established and profitable, to be treated this way, not only by the store manager, but then by the police.
Well, I think one of the realistic things about franchises is that, you're dealing with so many stores under a whole lot of different kinds of management. So, if she got a $200 gift card and she got some type of, something back for it, I guess that's good. But, I guess it's just she got something for it. I don't know. I don't really have much else more to say about it other than I guess it worked that she made the video. But
to me, that's the biggest probably gray lining or silver lining in this, is that people all notice now. That this happened.
And it can maybe move towards policy shifts or paying more attention to stuff, but Ulta's a very, very big franchise. So, you just got to go at like a store by store, region by region basis and see how it works. So,
well, even though it's a franchise, dear brother, corporate is responsible for the bottom line and the policies being enforced in a uniform manner. That's the reason you have a franchise license rather than direct ownership. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
Today we're going to be speaking with Cenk Uygur, host of The Young Turks and also author of the new book, Justice is Coming.
Author of the brand new book that we have here, Justice is Coming.
How progressives are going to take over the country and America is going to love it.
His new book is out now, Justice is Coming.
Cenk Uygur,
he's got a book out.
I encourage every progressive and non-progressive to read it.
Very interesting, very thought-provoking.
2 main ideas. 1, that progressives are correct on these kind of policy issues. And 2, America is actually a very progressive country.
And it's a powerful read.
This will be banned in Florida. By the way, that would be kind of awesome. There's no question we're going to win in the long run. The country's that progressive.
You have given me hope, Cenk.
I do see you as a voice of reason on the left, and I hope people will check out your book.
It's for outsiders, and it's for progressives and populists that are looking to overthrow this system.
You need this book in your house.
They tell you that change is not possible, hope is not possible, justice is not possible. Do not believe their lies. Change always wins. And then we take off like a rocket. tyt.com/justice. Members make a difference here at TYT. Together, we amplify the issues that matter. Medicare for all, criminal justice reform, ending imperialist wars, college for all, racial justice, climate change, and an end to money's corrupting influence on our politics. As a member, you help make the show happen, and your support makes an impact on our mission to drive positive change. Click the join button on YouTube to become a member, or go to tyt.com/join.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me give a big congratulations to the big homie, all right? TDR, they have reached 1 billion views. Wow. Man, that's a lot. All right, big ups to the Damage Report, to John and everybody there. That is huge. They reached that 1 billion mark on YouTube. Amazing milestone. Very few channels actually reached that. If you don't already watch the Damage Report, make sure you go to them on YouTube as well. Beautiful program, beautiful brother. And also membership, all right? We are here because of you. We do not exist if you do not support. So Indisputable always appreciates everyone who decides to financially support the platform. If you're on YouTube, watching me on YouTube right now, just click that join button. You can do that right now, all right? We appreciate you in advance. Okay, we got some comments. I'm going to read as many as I can. Lynn says, this is funny. I couldn't tell from the video, but was Byron Donalds wearing tap shoes? Yeah, he was. Great observation, by the way. Moni P says, this black man is so embarrassing that he would allow himself to be used in this way, so shameful. We don't claim him. Yeah, I understand that, but you know, we kind of have to, at least at this point. Black delegation has not spoken out. Then, that's right, that creative dragon. I thought the country wasn't racist. It's both ways here for them, right? Both ways. Whatever narrative benefits them in the moment. And the reason why they act this way is because they have no ideological leaning, not a real one. Their ideological leaning is power. Power. So whatever gets them to power, they will say. Fritza, thank you for this. What a lovely surprise, Doc. One of my favorite persons. Snackson. A good day already. Love you guys. We love you back. You knew it was coming.
Fritza. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Fritza, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. And let me do, yeah, that's good. All right. Anthony McClendon, member for 17 months. Thank you for that support. If I'm Byron Donalds, I don't know what's worse. Dumbing myself down to be accepted by them or being trotted out to carry water for them like today. I mean, it was just like, come on, man. The only time they tap you to do something is when you have to apologize or be an apologist for a racist comment inside of your party.
You ain't gonna move up no higher than that either.
That's right. Like, damn, brother, you should have been promoted by now. Okay, that's something for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
It appears that
damaged.
My car is damaged.
Where?
Right here. If you want to see, you can come. Why are you hitting my car, lady?
Because it's not damaged. You bitch. Would you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
You know, just took me to, And
it's not damaged.
I mean, usually what you're supposed to do in an accident is we exchange information.
Bitch.
You don't have to do that.
You're a crazy bitch.
Is she driving away?
Have a license?
Yeah.
Huh?
Let's go ahead and put the picture up full mass here. I don't think I have enough college degrees to navigate all of the complexities of this story. So this is a viral video of an exchange between two drivers. They were at a Costco in California. The Instagram user shared the 51-second video on the platform Thursday. She said she was backing out of her parking space when another woman decided to reverse her car and allegedly hit her. In the video, the woman could be seen slapping the back of the vehicle, which appears to have some minor damage. She argued it was not damage. Keep the picture up because, ironically, I've been in a similar situation years ago where someone hit my vehicle. I was at a red light. They did not stop in time. They hit my bumper. It had a slight variation, just like you just saw. And I assumed there was no damage because I was able to basically push it back in place. No problem. Shook hands. We went on. About 2 weeks later, my damn bumper fell off because there are clamps inside of the inner workings of that bumper that typically are either A, broken in that moment, or B, bent, and they will wear down. So to say there's no damage, well, you got to look inside first. And then to likely damage the car even more by hitting it, well, that needs to be examined as well. But the audacity to not only call her the B word, I'm going to assume, madam, because you're at Costco, you're shopping, you got a license, you're driving a car, you understand how to, negotiate life. You hit someone, you then hit their vehicle, you call them the B word, you hug one of the nicest black men I've ever seen, and then you drive off. Now you have a hit and run. There is absolutely no ambiguity about your responsibility during a traffic stop. And once again, I submit, I assume you know the rules because you have a car, you're driving like your little license. If you got a Costco's card, damn it, you got a license. Guarantee you that. Let's put up the picture of the hug. I just got to give it up for how amazing black people are. I mean, this brother was calm, he was cool, he was nice, he was courteous. The young lady who was being called a B word, nice, courteous, did not overreact, really didn't even aggressively react to this. Just beautiful people. She was lucky. Karen was lucky that day. She ran into some very beautiful souls who did not have any aggression toward her. And this is a dangerous narrative, ladies and gentlemen, because if somebody else would have been in that position and she's running to them saying, hey, protect me, help me, this woman is crazy, something bad could happen to the woman she's talking about. All right, Jackson, that was the best narrative I could provide. What say you?
My man has had enough. He looked like he about to quit tonight.
Right.
That was right. That was his final straw. He looked like 5 hours ago he reached this point. Like there's just nothing left. He was just staring like, and nobody really knew what to do because what would you do in it? That's like the last thing you would expect to happen. You might expect people to get violent before you expect someone to just come over. And
that was out of the box thinking for sure.
Yeah.
She Jedi mind tricked everybody.
Exactly. She just acted so strange that people just didn't know what to do. And then the woman who was recording, like she wasn't, sometimes you just can't really get upset because it's just like, what? Like, are you okay? Like that's one of those things. Yeah. You look at her and it's like, I don't think you okay right now. So I'm not, my bumper isn't totally destroyed. So I'm just gonna let you go on about your day. I hope you make it home safely because you probably shouldn't be driving right now. But yeah, that was definitely one of the best Karen videos we've gone over that since I've been on the show for sure. Yeah, I don't know what to say, but yeah, my man's is. I hope he should get something for that. I don't know what it is, but give him something.
Key to the city.
Right.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Hell of a thing. We've covered something like this before. Once again, mock slave auctions targeting students. Let me first take you to Massachusetts. Put up the picture full mass. This is Southwick, Massachusetts. Authorities are now investigating an explosive episode of racial bullying connected with Southwick Regional School after white students allegedly hosted a slave auction. This was on social media in which bids were placed on black classmates. A group of students at Southwick Regional High have been accused of creating an online slave auction in a Snapchat group called Black People Are Low Class, end quote. According to NBC 10 Boston, the group of students allegedly placed bids on black students at Southwick for $2 and $4. Before I go into some of the prior incidents, I want to remind you that conservatives will take some extreme story that's likely completely untrue to make a policy or political point. For example, they will say, oh, you got children saying that they identify as cats now. That's the big problem in my school. Completely false. Not a problem at all. It's absurd. But they will utilize that extreme position in order to make a political policy or partisan point, right? But then you have real situations, plural, like this one. They provide no leadership. They provide absolutely no remedy. They barely provide any response. So prior to the incident, white students also allegedly hurled racial slurs toward black female students. That's according to the Springfield branch of the NAACP. A mother of a black student at the school filed a civil complaint after she said her daughter was the primary target in both incidents. Allison Lopez claims her child has now faced discrimination at Southwick Regional High School for multiple months, culminating in the mock auction in the middle of Black History Month. The girl's name was being withheld because she is a minor, and we respect that. The Southwick Tolland Granville Regional School District completed its investigation on the 16th of February, turned over their findings to the Hampton District Attorney's Office, Attorney DA Anthony Guluni, to determine whether criminal charges should be filed. It's ironic they deal with it inside of the school first, but no, let's send to the DA's office for criminal charges. School officials said they were limited in what they could reveal about who was involved in the incident due to strict laws protecting student privacy, but they assured the community that appropriate disciplinary actions were taken. Now, I'm going to say this about their original statement. They can't talk about this, can't talk about that. That's a lie, all right? They cannot specifically identify students. They cannot talk directly about the student and disciplinary action. They cannot do that, but they can generally tell you what policies they have enacted. They can generally tell you what they will and will not accept. And they can generally tell you what they are going to do different moving forward, but they did not. The school district faced controversy in 2022 when a boys' bathroom was vandalized with racist graffiti, with the principal calling the incident one of the most disrespectful and hateful acts he had ever witnessed. Other mock slave auctions, let's go to Oregon. A similar incident happened back in 2021. Newburgh High School shared photos of two black classmates captured, $100 each, and another melanin deficient ingrate respondent. I'll take them for $150 as the pair. That year in Missouri, 4 students at Park Hill South High School were disciplined after a petition seeking to restart slavery was posted on social media. In 2022, North Carolina, J.S. Water School, where some of the white baseball players carried out a mock slave auction with one student, went for $350. Another student was the, quote, slave master because he knew how to handle them, end quote. And the list goes on and on and on. You see, this is bullying too. Remember that entire campaign against bullying in the schools? Remember that? You had all kinds of celebrities and people like Dr. Phil, who likes to exploit individuals on his program. You have all these individuals who are making commercials and PSAs and We got to tackle this. And then the federal government gets involved. They say, okay, if you could show that you're decreasing bullying incidents, we will give you federal money to participate in our Stop Bullying campaign. But you got to show decrease, right? To qualify for more money. So what did school systems do? They started to determine that racial bullying is more like horseplay, children being children, and would not typically qualify under the banner of bullying. Isn't that ironic? We have reported right here on Indisputable of Black children committing suicide, attempting to at times, unsuccessfully. And to many, this still is not a problem. This is not an issue worthy of policy dynamics. Jackson, this is very sad because you and I both understand the true psychological effect that this can bring on a child that may internalize this or at some point act out.
Yeah, and there's, several elements to it. Obviously, one of them are the, foundational cultural elements of, how this country came up, how it was put together, different things that we've overcome, but not fully. And we see this through examples like this, also through policy shifts, but also too, an element of kind of the stick it to the libs culture where things that aren't funny are made to be funny, like what you pointed out really ultimately is just bullying, but two, just kind of that whole element of the right wing of just kind of, poking it at people's identities in some type of way to get reactions. So there's kind of that edgelord element to it as well. But one of the real problematic things about this is how long it can take for societies to get over much of anything. And also point to just the real elements of human nature that we have to manage properly, that we have to take care of, that we all in our personal lives have to do our best to love one another because of how it can impact, the world around us if we don't. Right. But again, these are kids doing this. So, it could be 15, 20 years before these kids grow out of that way of thinking, if they ever do at all. And then, of course, the ones who don't will pass that on to their children. Mm-hmm. So, it's just a cycle that we have to keep on fighting against.
And we know good and damn well racism is learned. It is a taught behavior. It is a taught behavior. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Now I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the True Crime Podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT. And if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls.
Today we're going to be speaking with Cenk Uygur, host of The Young Turks and also author of the new book, Justice is Coming.
Author of the brand new book that we have here, Justice is Coming.
How progressives are going to take over the country and America is going to love it.
His new book is out now. Justice is Coming.
Cenk Uygur, he's got a book out. I encourage every progressive and non-progressive to read it.
Very interesting, very thought-provoking.
Two main ideas. One, that progressives are correct on these kind of policy issues. And two, America is actually a very progressive country.
And it's a powerful read.
This will be banned in Florida. By the way, that would be kind of awesome. There's no question we're going to win in the long run. The country's that progressive?
You have given me hope, Cenk. I do see you as a voice of reason on the left, and I hope people will check out your book.
It's for outsiders, and it's for progressives and populists that are looking to overthrow this system.
You need this book in your house.
They tell you that change is not possible, hope is not possible, justice is not possible. Do not believe their lies. Change always wins. And then we take off like a rocket. TYT.com/justice.
About the shirt you're wearing.
Pretty much speaks for itself. What's the penalty for treason? Death. Everything was phenomenal under Donald Trump, and now it's Obama calling the shots right now. It ain't Biden.
So it's Obama calling the shots?
I believe so. None of this would be happening if they hadn't stolen the 2020 election from Trump and we the people.
We've been around for about 20 years, and we have about 20 billion views. Am I proud of that? Hell yeah, I am. We put out 20 billion messages in a bottle. Have we helped to move now 2 generations, millennials and Gen Z, to become progressive? Yes, those numbers are real. We moved generations. Were we the only ones? Of course not. But we have been the largest online news show for now decades.
All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left, okay? All right, let me read a couple of these comments. Dragons don't know I'm not real bacon. That is the face of a man who does not get paid enough to deal with Karens. I know. That's it right there. He just doesn't get paid enough to deal with this, so he's not going to. He's just going to stand there. Right, he just shut down. Right. Yep, so I wish a dragon would. Another mock slave auction? Don't they know by now? The will end up on indisputable. That's right. Quote. I'm sorry. Hashtag. You're gonna learn today. That's right. Exactly. Well done. All right, Lady F&T, and thank you for that. What the did I just watch? And then she gives you some kissy lips snacks.
Oh, thank you. I hope I don't know what she was talking about. What did she just watch? But I guess I
the Karen. I think the Karen was the reference point there.
Well, I'm glad I made it better at the end.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, and Brent Carter and friends, welcome to Indisputable. Thank you so much. And Twitch. Yeah. Winston 121880. Slave auctions are what you get when you let Moms for Liberty take over your school boards. That's right. Well said. You know, I don't know why, but Cam Newton was jumped, and he didn't even lose his hat. Here it is. All right, let's put up the picture full mass. Let me bring your attention to something quite amazing. In the screenshot of the conflict, that's Cam Newton in the middle, okay? As you can clearly see, his hat is still upon his head, okay? A video surfaced Sunday that appears to show 2015 NFL MVP champ Cam Newton involved in the scuffle. This was at a 707 youth football tournament in Atlanta. Very unfortunate that happened in front of young people. It seems to show Newton wearing one of his custom-made hats being shoved by 3 people near the top of a set of steps before the pushing, shoving, and grabbing moves toward a fence line. The video lasts less than 30 seconds before the altercation is broken up by police officers and security. At the Wee Ball Sports, this was at Best Academy. Best Academy is a remarkable institution, by the way. So Newton, number 1 pick in the 2011 NFL draft out of Auburn, does not appear to throw any punches. Luckily for them, they probably would still be in the hospital now. In the video, he threw no punches. He seems to be fending off other people very successfully so. There was 1 punch thrown in Newton's direction. It was unclear if it landed because it didn't do a damn thing to him. It is also uncertain what prompted the altercation. I want to say this. So while many will look at that video and say, oh my goodness, people are being violent, this, that, and the other, Cam Newton did not throw a physical punch to anybody. Okay, you got to understand the context of this. That is a beautiful thing. He exercised restraint when he could have easily claimed self-defense and went full aggressive on everybody there. He did not. He simply wanted the conflict and combat to stop. So I applaud the dear brother for operating in such a way. And gentlemen, jumping somebody, man, that's so 1988, man. Come on. All right, Jackson, thoughts?
I want to know what brand of hat he had on, and whoever it was, you know what I'm saying, give him a lifetime endorsement, you know, or just use it. I don't know. Just he needs something for that. You know?
Yeah.
He definitely need that. I want to know what type of hat that is, because he got hair. I got hair too. I typically don't wear hats. So
it's a custom hat.
Back in the, oh yeah, we'll see. I gotta know. I probably can't afford it, I'm sure. But you know, maybe someday I can buy it and then I can start wearing hats.
That's right. He needs to let us know what hat he was wearing.
He gotta let us know what's up. But yeah, it's definitely commendable that he didn't swing at him, because I mean, he has a lot to lose too. You know, if he did get into that. So it's nice that it was broken up. But yeah, you know, it definitely could have been worse. So it's good that everybody's okay.
Yep, I concur. All right, Representative Barbara Lee, right, serving the people, gets denied access. She talks about this story where she's denied access to vote because, well, they don't believe she's an elected official. Here it is.
Racism, institutional racism, is in the DNA of this country. When you look at what has taken place, look at our Native Americans, the genocide of Native Americans. When you look at what has taken place as it relates to African Americans, the 250 years plus of enslaving African Americans, and then you look at the disparities now in our community in terms of health care, unemployment, the wealth gap, housing. You can't tell me that systemic racism does not exist. It's not just a little kink. Secondly, you have personal racism, which is hard to address, but I'll give you one little story that shows you why we need to understand that I don't think she really understands racism. I was walking from the House building on Capitol Hill to the Capitol, and a man, a white guy, stopped me and told me I could not get into the members' elevator. And, you know, we have pens, and I was going to vote. And he blocked me from getting into the elevator and told me I was not a member of Congress and it was for members only. I said, sir, I'm a member of Congress. And I showed him my pen, and he said, whose pen did you steal? Now, this is an example of what personal racism is and how people of color constantly have to deal with this each and every day. But systemic racism is in the policies of this country. And just look at what they're trying to do in terms of eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're trying to not allow for an equal and level playing field. And so it's a very dangerous position that she has. She's clueless.
Yeah. And I concur with the Congresswoman. I'll put up the picture full mass. A couple of things to highlight here. Number one, Senator Tim Scott recounts a similar incident. We're going to get into that in just a moment. The fact that she has to respond to the comments of a Governor Nikki Haley when everyone knows it's just gaslighting from Haley and Republicans. But we're forced to respond to this mess. The representative made these comments back in January. U.S. representative, she's represented the state of California since 1998. 1998. Lee never shared when this incident happened exactly. So we know it took place at some point during her 25-year tenure in Congress. But right-wing proponents on the social media platform X believe she completely fabricated the story. And they decided to invoke the name of Jesse Smollett to attempt to make a point. Quote, I'm going to go with this never actually happened. How very Jesse Smollett of you, one X user wrote. Quote, Representative Barbara Lee has been awarded the 2024 Jesse Smollett Award. Congratulations, Barbara. Another person commented. Some online came to Lee's defense, calling out right-wingers' hypocrisy, as well as the deadly ramifications of racism. Jesse Smollett is trending again, which means tons of MAGA and a few blue wave people are using that incident to delight themselves in a cesspool of racism, denialism. Another person wrote, friendly reminder, non-black people falsely accused African Americans of crimes for centuries. Meanwhile, Senator Tim Scott, do you remember? He shared a similar story. Here it is.
So it's easy to identify a U.S. senator by our pen. I recall walking into an office building just last year after being here for 5 years on the Capitol. And the officer looked at me with a little attitude and said, the pen, I know. You, I don't. Show me your ID. I'll tell you, I was thinking to myself, either he thinks I'm committing a crime impersonating a member of Congress, or what? Well, I'll tell you that later that evening, I received a phone call from his supervisor apologizing for the behavior. Mr. President, that is at least the third phone call that I received from a supervisor or the chief of police since I've been in the Senate.
This is at his place of work. He has been discriminated against multiple times, but will play the, but America is not a racist country card in order to obtain power for himself, right? Okay. The right won't attack him, but they will attack Representative Barbara Lee. Why will they not attack him for these stories? Because he puts icing on BS. And the icing is, but still, America is not a racist country. And for some reason, that makes all of his encounters with racism believable to the GOP. But when Barbara Lee, when she keeps it real authentic all the way through, she's not being honest. All right, hell of a thing here, Jackson. Hypocrisy is ever before them.
I think another reason is that Tim Scott, ain't nobody really listening to him. So when he says things, you know what I mean? So like when he says things like that, like unless we play it on this show, like nobody's gonna see it. So if he was like have more charisma or more of a boisterous personality, something like that, then perhaps he could cause a problem. But then he may not be in that position at all. Yeah. So but I think first let me say that the Senate race is filled with some nice candidates down there in California. We got Barbara Lee, we got Katie Porter. So and Katie Porter, she got even more time ahead of her just in terms of her career. So that's looking pretty nice.
It's a very talented pool. Let me say that.
Absolutely. But real quick, I think one of the most important things that she pointed out is, you can say, there's no racism in the country, but look at all the efforts to take away diversity, equity, and inclusion of all kinds, whether it be in the work environment or the educational environment. So they know what's going on.
They know what's up. Agreed. All right. A cop steals $140 shoes while on duty This is a hell of a story. Put up the picture full mass. Let me explain. Let me take you to a state called Mississippi. Mississippi police officer has been fired after accusations of stealing a $140 pair of shoes. While in uniform, by the way, Robin Connor allegedly stole the item from a Dick's Sporting Goods at 12 p.m. Wednesday, February 21st, while on duty, dressed in full uniform, using her patrol car. Following her arrest, Connor was jailed, charged with misdemeanor shoplifting, and granted an $862 surety bond, which means her signature got a wrap. Columbus City Council unanimously voted 5-0 to terminate Connor the next day. Connor joined the force in 2022. In an interview with Columbus Chief of Police, Joseph Daughtry, quote, an employee observed them and detained the officer and called 911. We're putting her in jail. It's embarrassing for the department, but we're going to treat her like we would anybody else. Put up a picture again. You know, if she would have just shot an unarmed black person, she would still at least be suspended with pay. So sad. The chief continued, quote, we have a job to do and we're held to a higher standard. And the community is just starting to trust us. And to take this gut punch really hurts. That's why we fulfilled our obligation, not only to the store, but to the community. The scandal is just the newest source of contention in a department marred with controversy. Last year, a pair of officers were fired for excessive use of force during an arrest. But you know what? And let's put that up, full mass. You know what? They were not fired the next day by unanimous vote by city council. All right, Jackson, thoughts here.
She could have just waited a week and a half till her next paycheck to buy the $140 shoes. Like, you ain't even steal that. Like you, if you go steal something, look, man, if you gonna risk it, then at least make it worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, otherwise you could just wait 6 or 7 days and you're gonna get paid. So, you know, that's all she had to do. But hey, you know, we all have choices in life.
There you go. And consequences. All right. This is a very disturbing video. All right. So a dad is caught confessing to his son's killing on a Ring video doorbell. Here it is.
Oh, hello. David, talk to me. Is he alive? Is he breathing?
He's not breathing. He's dead.
But why, David? Why?
The fighting on the way home was unbearable, and we got here, and just from one second to the next, he was going to go to the Keys. He was going to go with Jacob. He was going to fight girls. Would it be okay if girls go and sleep over? I said no, and I told him no, and I was going to go over there tonight and make sure. He said, well, all right. You know,
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault, Odie.
Julie heard you. Julie heard you. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault, Odie. Please call my brother. I just talked to him.
Where's your brother?
Please.
Where's your brother? He's gonna go to jail.
Man, this is so sad. Man, put up the picture. Miami-Dade County. A Ring camera footage shows the moments after 52-year-old father, David De Jesus Patres, confessed to the fatal November 3rd shooting of his then 22-year-old son, Eric, a Florida International University student who was planning to celebrate his November 6th birthday with his family. It was not immediately clear what the argument between the father and son was about or how it escalated to gun violence. Prosecutors filed a felony case on November 5th, and the father appeared in court for his arraignment hearing shortly after, where he pleaded not guilty to a second-degree murder charge. The Ring camera video shows the father speaking to his wife from outside of their home after the shooting occurred moments before he was arrested. Quote, is Eric alive? Is he breathing? Asks his wife. He's not breathing, he's dead. The fighting on the way home was unbearable. end quote. The father called 911 in body cam footage obtained Friday by NBC6. Police officers arrived at his home. Officers with guns drawn asked the dad to come out with his hands up. The video shows he did comply with the police as he cried while being taken into custody. And he kept saying, "I shot my son, I shot my son." David told police this while sobbing. He then directed police to where the home, to where the body was inside of the home. Detective Andre Martin, a spokesperson for the Miami-Dade Police Department, described the murder as a domestic violence incident. Officers arrested the father, took him to the correctional center where he was held without bond. The father appeared in court for an author hearing on Thursday, which is a procedure to allow for consideration of bond. The judge ruled that he will continue to be held without bond until his next court appearance. We're going to follow this story. I can't imagine the pain of the rest of the family, that the mother and others who, I mean, this completely flips everything in a person's life. And then the 22-year-old who's in college, having the last moments of his life, his father has a gun pointed at him and he shoots. This is so damn sad. All right, Jackson, thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, especially right when basically his life was going to get started, in the sense of him being able to more so discover who he is, what he's made of. And a lot of his biggest challenges, he didn't even have a chance to face.
Yep.
But I think the important thing is that with that being on camera, there's really no way he's going to get away with this. And
right.
I don't expect him to garner much sympathy from a jury or from the public either. So yeah, it's about as tragic as it gets. It really is.
Really is, man. And dear brother, on that note, we appreciate all that you do. Thank you for your leadership. For those who would like to follow you, check out your great work. Tell them where to go.
Thank you so much. It's always good to be here with you. Check me out at youtube.com/@politicsandpaper. I do daily streams, and I'm getting into a whole lot of other fun types of stuff. The membership program is centered around community service and helping getting people out to vote. Not necessarily just with a federal focus, more so on local elections, getting people in city council seats, stuff like that. So again, check me out at Politics and Paper on YouTube.
Thank you, dear brother. We appreciate all you do, man. We got more. Bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them, reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me. Dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. All right, we have Mr. Stephen Kent, commentator, Young Voices, formerly the host of Right Now with Stephen Kent, a conservative libertarian YouTube show, and also, well, author of How the Force Can Fix the World, and editor of geekystoics.com. Good to have you on the show, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. We're going to talk about Christian nationalism. What it is, what it ain't, what does it lead to, and perceptions. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about the concept, so I will allow you to give us your proclamation. I will then opine.
Sure. So Christian nationalism immediately becomes divisive because right off the bat, we're reacting to how we feel about the word nationalism. It evokes a lot of different feelings. And I will tell you, I myself have had beers with some of these so-called Christian nationalists in Washington, D.C., the types who might call themselves Catholic integralists. These are individuals who would like to see a monarchy renewed in the United States, dispense with liberal democracy, and reinstate the authority of the Vatican. So these individuals are real, and to them, Christian nationalism is the identifier that sums up their ideology. But we're talking about this today because Politico did a piece where they profiled Russell Vought and a handful of other so-called Christian nationalists who are around Donald Trump and would be part of his second administration. And these individuals, particularly Russell Vought, defines Christian nationalism very specifically. And if I may, I'll just read what he wrote just a couple of months ago. He said, "An orientation for engaging in the public square that recognizes America as a Christian nation, where our rights and duties are understood to come from God, and where our primary responsibilities as citizens are for building and preserving the strength, prosperity, and health of our own country. It's a commitment to an institutional separation between church and state, but not the separation of Christianity from its influence on government."
Well, let me respond to some of that because there's a factual inaccuracy in that proclamation. This was not founded as a Christian nation. And if we don't at least discuss that point, I think the rest of it is not genuine. We were not founded as a Christian nation. As a matter of fact, a whole lot of the founding fathers were deists and openly criticized traditional Christianity. And the entire concept of the foundational argument to create the experiment known as America was to get away from this Christian monarchy rule and establish an independent cohort known as the United States of America. Took some time, obviously, for the independence to become a reality. But that was the concept. Now, do you disagree with anything I've just offered to you?
Not necessarily. I do think it's important that you note that there were deists within the founding fathers. Benjamin Franklin is one such person who he sort of just in general believed in higher powers and
They believed in enlightenment. They believed in enlightenment and you seeking that enlightenment through your direct channels of higher self, consciousness, spirituality, etc. But as far as this,
not through yours, but through objective higher goods and objective senses of authority.
And I don't think we disagree on this point at all. So why do you think people who are well educated, they took some history classes, why do you think people still say that this was founded as a Christian nation? Why does that happen?
Why does that happen? I mean, I'm sure you would have a theory about it, but I would say that it comes from the language of God, heaven, higher authority and power that is so inherent to the great speeches of American history, the farewell address of George Washington, that just discussion of God is baked into so much of early American history, and then it experiences a bit of a revival in the late 1900s through the government. But the conservative movement is disenchanted with liberal democracy and liberalism as a whole. They are quite content at this point to throw out the idea that government should be impartial and simply mediate law between conflicting interests and should take a perspective. And this is probably where I actually agree with them.
Okay.
I come from the libertarian world, and we support and would prefer to see a government that is neutral and just sort of maintaining the interests of different factions. Conservatives will contend that there is no such thing as neutrality. And they argued this when it came to the whole drag queen story hour thing, where you have some drag queen come to your kindergarten school and read books to your kids, that is not neutrality, that it's actually the government taking a position about what is good, acceptable, worthy of being in front of children. And I think that they have the high ground on that argument. And libertarians are probably going to have to come to grips with this, because there are things that we do tend to agree are not worthy of being in the public square.
That's interesting to me. When you say public square, it indicates that this is something available to everyone in this public community, right? And there are these rights allocated, freedom of speech, et cetera. However, minors don't have rights per se. They don't have all of these constitutional rights. Oh, they do not, sir. I mean, we can argue that if you would like to. They don't have the right to bear arms.
You're like the bad guy in the Little Rascals who says, "You're not people, you're kids."
Well, I'm saying exactly how the law works. So you can argue the law. You don't have to argue against me. The law does not recognize a child's right to bear arms. The law does not recognize a child's freedom of speech inside of a school setting. You know that. Hell, they can't even wear the clothes they want to wear. They have to follow a dress code, something that many conservatives agree with. So you acknowledge they don't have the same rights as an adult, correct?
I do not acknowledge that. I can't pull up the Supreme Court case right off the top of my head here, but the free speech in school, right, would pertain right directly to the ability to not say the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. There was also a case in
No, sir.
There was
You're
also
making a
a
whole
case
different
in
point.
2011 in which California passed a bill which would prohibit kids from going to like EB Games, GameStop used to be called EB Games, and purchasing violent video games without parental consent. The Supreme Court, and the opinion was written by Antonin Scalia, penned that kids do in fact have free speech rights to purchase violent video games without mediation from their parent or guardian, which is actually a remarkable decision because it applies directly
Well, brother,
to
you take it this whole thing completely off course. Let me bring you back to the train track here.
Okay.
Because you actually just proved my point. I don't think you realize what you've done.
Curious.
There's a restriction allocated to minors for basically every single constitutional right that one has. So a student inside of, let's say, a middle school cannot drop the F-bomb without the government penalizing the student. It's called suspension.
Oh, sure they can. Have you ever been in a school?
Yes, sir. I work in schools, sir.
They can do whatever they want. Maybe even
no,
smack
you
the
obviously
teacher.
do not work in schools. If you drop the F-bomb inside of a school setting, you get in-school suspension first time. Second time, you typically
But
get to go
suspension
home.
policies are racist. Have you not heard? If it creates racial inequity in the schools, you can't
You're
suspend
gaslighting.
students.
You're trying to deflect
No, I'm
from
just
the argument.
I've got
Hold on,
kids
dear
in
brother. I'm
school.
gonna get.
Like
I'm
these
gonna get
policies
to you in a moment.
are real.
I'm gonna get to your point in a moment as you try to deflect. But if you drop the F-bomb inside of a school setting, middle school, whatever, the school has the authority, and the school is the government. It's a governmental entity. They have the authority, reinforced by the U.S. Supreme Court, to suspend, remove, or otherwise discipline appropriately that student, which proves the restriction of their freedom of speech. Now, I don't know why it took so long for me to help you see that point. It's a simple
No, my
ass point.
apologies. I think, no, you are right. They do have the authority. Maybe what I'm contending is that they don't believe in using it anymore.
I don't know who they are, but the institutions I work with, they do utilize it. Some schools, in my opinion, especially those where white students hurl the N-word at black students, which is bullying, et cetera. they don't get suspended or they don't get disciplined, that is a problem. All right. So that challenge we've seen right here in Indisputable via reporting. But let's get back to the Christian nationalism dynamic, because definitions are one thing, but who's controlling the narrative is the actual genesis of this entire debate and argument. Christian nationalism can be just as diverse as every other Christian doctrination alive, period. You have people that will believe this, others believe that. But who's controlling the narrative? In the political sense, the extreme version of the narrative has significant power over the number one candidate for the Republican ticket to be president. Do you disagree with that?
I believe that he is taking advantage of them, yes.
Okay, let's get into that. There may be some common ground we have. I agree with you. Let me first start by saying that. I do believe Donald Trump is exploiting them. I don't think he's a Christian evangelical. I don't think he gives a damn about it one way or the other. Now, he's exploiting them. Now, here's the thing though, dear brother, and you have to acknowledge this. He's able to exploit them because of a level of indoctrination they have already endured. Do you get the cause and effect here? There's a connection between the level of indoctrination that they have already endured and the indoctrination that comes with that, and Donald Trump exploiting it, understanding the psychology connection between blind faith and what seems to be a cult leader now.
So I'm going to argue something different, actually, which is that he is taking advantage of Christian nationalists, the evangelical movement, and they are allowing it to happen. I don't actually accept the narrative that they are being duped in any way, shape, or form. This is a movement that is about power. We're talking about Christian nationalists here and the new
political power, right?
They want political power, and Donald Trump is a mechanism in which they can achieve it and have it back. So there is very much a trade-off here where both sides are getting a thing that they want. Trump is getting voters, and they are getting a person who will enact their preferred policies and remove neutrality from the US government. So I don't think that anybody's being fooled.
Yeah, I disagree. We've had them on the program. There are some real Kool-Aid drinkers, brother. I get your point. You're saying there's a transactional relationship and people are kind of doing the wink and nod thing, right? Yeah. We know Trump's a Christian, right? So I get that. And I do believe that's accurate. And there are people inside of the party or movement who believe that, but I also believe that there are some true Kool-Aid drinkers who are very authentic about their belief and approach and will give Donald Trump their last penny because of that belief structure. But let's talk about Christian evangelicals and the Christian nationalism dynamic in America. You have people like the late Billy Graham, right? One of the most influential Christian evangelicals America's ever produced. He was a non-factor. That movement was a non-factor. Let me put it this way. That movement was a non-factor in the 60s in America as it relates to the freedoms of Black people and otherwise disenfranchised folk in this country. As a matter of fact, the King camp would tell you it was the Billy Graham camp who said, no. We got to do this thing gradually. You're moving too fast here. So if left to Christian nationalism, we would still be in 1968, 69. So their effectiveness spiritually, I'm talking spiritually, ethically, morally, et cetera. Their effectiveness to say things like, well, we want to have bias, we want to have position, we want to have these things that America is now saying, well, we got to be neutral. Well, realize taking a position is one thing, but taking an antithetical position to progress is another. And they took an antithetical position to progress as it relates to Black folks.
I think this would actually be a good moment to talk a little bit about how natural law has played into these debates, because I think what you're saying.
What's your definition of natural law? Let's define that first, if you would.
Sure. So natural law would be rules that come from something other than ourselves about the way that the universe works. That's, you can get it from a million different people in a million different ways.
Well,
but they are laws that precede man.
Okay, well, like a cosmic law, universal law.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about social laws, right? Or social
That's
norms.
right. We're talking about cosmic law.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that Christian nationalists, if it were not for them, or if it were for them, we would not have like the civil rights movement integration today. My problem is that the media that reported this story, Politico, on Christian nationalists, they define the one thing that brings all Christian nationalists together, the one thing that defines them in their view. And here we have a complete incoherence about what Christian nationalism is, which is that what defines them is their belief in this idea, this radical notion that we have natural law, that our rights come from God and not from government, which by that definition, Martin Luther King would be a Christian nationalist. And so it's really, it's really important. It's really important that we, clarify.
Yeah, but
natural law and what Christian nationalism is.
That definition was wholly inaccurate.
Well, make your case.
So the definition of Christian nationalism, you have already made my case, brother, when you said it is about political power. So if you have submitted on my show that Christian nationalism is about political power, you cannot then double talk and say Christian nationalism is about anything moral or God's law, because political power is not cosmic law.
Well, I'm not making that case. I'm restating Politico's case.
I understand. And I restated that they were wholly inaccurate in the definition of Christian nationalism that you decided to use to compare to the great Dr. King, who damn sure wasn't down with Christian nationalism. He was fighting them, sir.
By the media's definitions and their secular worldview.
You're talking about one company.
He would be, and this is the importance of this conversation.
See, I won't let you do that here, brother. You're talking about one damn company. I said on record, that definition is wholly inaccurate. There are people who are not Christian nationalists who believe the same thing. There are folks who are Christian nationalists who do not believe that at all. So you cannot give a blanket broad stroke because one media company and one person in that media company defined it as such.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know.
Come
I'm just restating to you the reason that we're having a conversation in the first place.
All right, so you know and I know the comment was inaccurate as far as the description of Christian nationalism. Dr. King was not anywhere near associated.
Oh my God, he's not a Christian nationalist. I'm trying to tell you this.
Yeah, I know.
He's not a Christian nationalist unless you go by flawed definitions of Christian nationalism. Dr. King was a natural rights adherent in the long tradition of American Enlightenment and law. So that's what we're talking about here. But the reason for this discussion is because if we're going to raise the alarm about Catholic integralists and Christian nationalists, we need to actually know what it is that they believe. And it's not natural law that brings these people together. It's a belief that the United States government and liberal democracy cannot uphold virtue. That is what unites these individuals. So just to be clear.
We have different definitions of virtue, for example. I think it's virtuous. I think it's virtuous for an individual to not be judged based on the color of their skin.
Agree.
I think it's also virtuous for your zip code not to define your economic reality or opportunity at higher education.
Such as what school you might have to go to?
That's correct, dear brother. I believe these things are virtuous. Now, if it's virtuous, then there's a responsibility, a societal responsibility to that virtue. Because every single virtue that we talk about must be respected by the person next to you. And if it's not respected, that virtue be damned. Because outside of the proper societal construct, the virtue is simply a good idea.
No, that's absolutely right. In C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, he writes about this and contends with the idea that the left and the right, both Christians in this context, might want to use government to enact their virtues. And he says a Christian society will never arrive until most of us truly want it, and that we're not going to arrive until most people are Christians. You cannot force a Christian society. You actually have to have virtuous people.
That's right.
And there was a time, though, at which the United States government, in the spirit of Benjamin Franklin's sort of deism, did actually promote virtue with its own resources. Do you have any memory of the Book of Virtues animated series in the 1990s on PBS?
No.
This is fascinating stuff. So this animated TV show on PBS was written by 2 Ronald Reagan alumni and had 3 seasons in which every episode taught things like honesty, loyalty, courage, family, stuff like that, using animated characters and drawing on the teachings of not just Aristotle, Plato, Christ, but also just sort of secular folk tales and Aesop's fables. A government-funded television outlet promoting virtuous ideas, ideas about what good is. And that actually does require a government to know and have an opinion about indisputable truths.
Brother,
I think
I agree.
That's good to have.
Listen, man, I agree. I will tell you one show I did watch. Listen, man, I was born in 1981. So Captain Planet. Remember him?
Oh,
See,
yes.
that was virtuous to me. You could not have a Captain Planet talking about the environment today without it being all the liberals are trying to brainwash individuals. So listen, man, cause and effect is a reality. You trash the earth does not respond as appropriately or adequately to the life that it sustains. As within, so without. As above, so below. These things are all connected, dear brother. Would you not agree?
I would. And the politicization of everything has made people close-minded to very simple things. Like it is generally good to have a television show that does promote having clean air and clean water. But you might want to draw a line at, say, worship of the earth itself, but just an appreciation and love for it.
Yeah, but even if somebody decided that's their religious belief, they should still have access and protection as anyone else in this world.
As they
There you go. That's right there, brother. All right, man, this has been a fascinating conversation. We're going to have you back. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Dr.
All right.
Richie.
Absolutely. Okay. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.